This video will walk you through how to establish SSH connections using Cloudflare Access and Argo Tunnel. For this demo, we'll establish a connection using a remote server running in DigitalOcean. The first step to establish an SSH connection with Access is to install and authenticate the Cloudflare daemon on a remote server. Before we can install the daemon, let's use the public IP address that DigitalOcean assigns to connect to the remote server. As you can see here, we're now connected to this server running in a New York data center in DigitalOcean. Now, let's download Cloudflare D to the remote server in DigitalOcean. Cloudflare D is Cloudflare's command line tool and a lightweight daemon that will establish a secure outbound connection from this server to the Cloudflare network. Cloudflare D is available in various formats and packages, but in this case, we'll use the Debian package. If you're using a Mac, you can also use Homebrew for installation. For this video, we'll install Cloudflare D with wget. As you can see, Cloudflare D is on the server, but we need to unpackage it to complete the installation. Now, Cloudflare D has been installed, and we can confirm. The second step is to create a subdomain to represent the machine or server and secure that subdomain using Cloudflare Access. To do this, we need to navigate to the Cloudflare dashboard, choose an active domain, which in this case is tldworkers.com, and build a new access policy. Let's enter DigitalOcean Droplet as the application name and assign it to the subdomain droplet.tldworkers.com. Let's call the policy Only Team Members and decide to only allow team members with an email address ending in @cloudflare.com. You also have the option to include octogroups or GitHub organizations. Let's click Save. The policy is ready, and we can now return to the DigitalOcean server. We need a certificate from Cloudflare that will allow a subdomain to be created for our remote server. To do this, we need to run the command Cloudflare D tunnel login, which will create a URL to copy and paste into the browser. Here, you'll see all the domains associated with your Cloudflare account. Let's select the domain associated with the Only Team Members access policy. Cloudflare D has now downloaded a certificate to the origin using Cloudflare Argo Tunnel, which we can confirm in the terminal. Now that Cloudflare D is installed, let's connect the remote server to Cloudflare using the subdomain droplet.tldworkers.com and the following command. We're now establishing a secure connection to Cloudflare, so we can return to the Cloudflare dashboard to confirm. We now see that a new DNS record is present, which means there's a secure outbound connection running from the DigitalOcean server to the Cloudflare network that's proxying SSH traffic. The connection from Cloudflare to the server must stay active for this to continue. The next step is to configure the client machine, a device a team member identified in our access policy might use to connect. The client connection uses Cloudflare D as well, so let's install it with Homebrew. Cloudflare D will generate the necessary SSH config settings. Wrappers or proxy commands aren't required in this case. Now, let's run the command Cloudflare D access SSH config. As you can see, it's generating an example config setting. But in this case, let's specify our hostname, droplet.tldworkers.com. Now, let's take the output and add it to the SSH config file. The final step in establishing an SSH connection with Access is to connect to the virtual machine using SSH by running the following command. This command will launch a browser window offering several options for authentication. Let's authenticate with Google. Success! After authenticating, you'll be asked if you want to continue connecting. Entering yes will add this connection to the list of known hosts on the client machine. We are now connected to the virtual server over SSH, where we can see the Cloudflare D logs. This concludes the video walkthrough on how to establish SSH connections with Cloudflare Access and Argo Tunnel. If you have any questions or want to use Access to secure any other applications or resources, visit teams.cloudflare.com/access.